In this next section, I want to introduce the concepts of adaptation and stress because I found them really useful when thinking about overuse injuries. Adaptation is critical. We're not machines. We change based on our inputs. We grow stronger. Our bodies grow stronger or weaker depending on how they're stressed in response to that, so that we can anticipate future demands. If your body's lazy. If you don't push it, it grows weaker. You sit in front of a TV or a desk your whole life and your body goes weak, your muscles and your joints and your heart and all of these things. If you don't exercise your mind grows weak. And so that's critical. And if you do exercise it, it grows stronger. But if you stress it too fast or too quickly or too soon, you can injure it. So there's that interplay, which is really important. And so that adaptation to stress is what makes us strong, and it's happening on a lot of different levels to a lot of different systems in your body on different time frames. And what I mean by that is, let's talk about, like, changing your mind happens very rapidly. Once you've decided to do it, that's instant, pretty much. Your nervous system takes only minutes or hours or days. The first time you sit down to learn the piano, your nervous system is reconfiguring to attach your fingers, to the keys. And that experience goes on for years, but it starts, it's measurable in minutes. That's like when someone goes into the gym for the first time, their first strength gains don't come from their muscles getting stronger. It comes because their nervous system is learning how to recruit the muscles more efficiently for the strength movement, like a squat or a deadlift or a snatch. And that's where their initial strength gains come from. And those happen, in the first days or weeks. But if they stay at the gym and keep pushing themselves and working out, then their muscles begin to adapt, because those have a sort of a slower time constant. And so their muscles will grow stronger, and they'll put on bulk and gain muscle strength. And it doesn't stop there. All of the tissue in your body is adapting, and that includes your connective tissue. The support structure that your muscles are embedded into, that web of fascia and tendons and ligaments. And that includes your bones too. Your bones, there are biomechanical processes, or biomechanical stresses and adaptive processes, shaping your bones that happen over years. And so your whole body is continually adapting to what you do to it. And so taking advantage of that is how you can become strong. It's just to make sure that you don't overload a system too soon. And there's a critical piece for hikers in there, which is, or for long distance hikers especially, because the first thing that gets strong is your nervous system. That happens fast. Your nervous system very rapidly adapts over, the course of maybe a week or two, or I'm making numbers up, but it adapts first. The next one is your muscles. Your muscles will grow strong over the first couple of weeks, and so you'll get your first feeling of having your trail legs, that kind of strength. But it's important, depending on how naturally strong your body is, you really need to watch that when your muscles get strong, you don't push yourself so hard that you're overloading the support structure holding your muscles up, your tendons and your fascia and the rest of your connective tissue and your joints. So you've got to watch when you first get your trail legs that you're not using your muscles to overload the muscular support structure, because then you might experience connective tissue problems like shin splints or plantar fasciitis or something like that. So that doesn't mean don't push yourself. Those will adapt too eventually. That just means be careful and watch for those things, and just be mindful of the fact that your muscles are relatively fast adapting compared to a lot of the other support structures that you rely on for functional strength. And so hopefully there's a diagram up there that is readable, because that diagram captures a lot about how I think about stress, adaptation, and injury. And the idea is your accumulated stress level is constantly going up or going down. If you hike for 4 hours, the stress level in your body is going up. With every step, there's boom, 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 stress coming into your body, and it's building up. And then when you take a break, it recovers, it dissipates, and your body heals itself and it strengthens itself. And then you go hiking more, and there's more stress going into your body. And then you stop for the night. And then overnight, the stress level goes down as your body is recovering, but that's also your body is repairing itself and growing stronger. That's that adaptation that's happening to all the different parts of your body, to your nervous system, to your muscles, to your connective tissue, even to your bones. And so, during this recovery time, your body is getting stronger. And so the next day, your injury threshold is a little bit higher. So your body can take a little bit more stress before you're in the injury zone. And so stress accumulates, as you hike, and it recovers as you take breaks and rest and as you take 0 days. And the critical thing is to not let your stress level rise to the point of injury, rise above your injury threshold, which means there are a couple of components to that. And the first one is be aware of where you are in relation to the injury threshold. Because if you get near it, your body is gonna start telling you, and you need to be able to recognize when you need to back off. And that backing off is the second piece. That can mean a couple things. Maybe it means you just need to slow down and be really just be careful, not bang your way down the trail. But if it's already a little too late, maybe you need to take a break. Maybe you need to take a full 0 day or 2 0 days to give your body time to recover, because you really don't want to get above there, because injuries, especially connective tissue injuries that thru hikers seem to be prone to, once they occur, they take a long time to heal, and so that might mean the end of your hike for that season. So take extra caution when you're near there. And there's an important distinction between the kinds of pain and discomfort that you can hike through, like muscle pain where your muscles are sore. That's a good kind. People who go to the gym know all about that. And then there's the bad kind of pain, which if that pain is increasing, that means an injury that's going to take a lot of recovery time may be coming on. And so it's important to watch your body and to learn how to recognize those different kinds of pain, because sometimes you can hike through it, and then sometimes you can't. And it's when you can't that you need to rest or slow down. And that leads me to the third component that I was going to sort of talk about, what's critical with all this, which is the rate of accumulation. How fast is stress going into your body? And I spent a lot of time on the trail just sort of trying to list in my mind, to enumerate all of the different factors and build equations to model all this, because that's how my brain works, which is kind of funny, I think. But I boiled it down to 3, really, in terms of how fast stress accumulates in your body. And you have control over most of them, too. There's speed, weight, and efficiency. The main one you don't have control over is your terrain, what you're hiking over, or maybe your mileage requirements. How many miles you have to make every day on average. But you do have control over the speed, the weight, and the efficiency to a degree. And that can be really critical. That can be the difference between pushing yourself into injury or letting yourself develop into a very strong hiker that can do consecutive 30-mile days in Northern California. Maybe coming from someone who worked at a cubicle 8 hours a day and then went home to watch TV. So speed, weight, and efficiency. Speed and weight are bad in terms of stress, and efficiency is good. And so weight is, I'll talk about that first, because you have a lot of control over it, but you don't have day-to-day control. And what I mean by that is, once you've settled on your gear list, your base weight doesn't change a lot day to day or hour to hour. You've got all of your gear, and you're going to carry that at least to your next resupply. And you've picked up your food, and you're going to eat your food at a relatively constant rate. So you can't really get rid of your food, maybe without risking running a calorie deficit and bonking, which is really stupid and sucks horribly, as hikers often find out. And your water weight, really once you've figured out how much water your body needs and where the water is, you don't have a lot of choice over that. So the weight's important, but you're going to minimize it pretty quickly, and you're not going to have a lot of control day to day over it. What you do have control over on an instant-by-instant basis is your speed. And speed is really critical. Think about the difference between a Pacific Crest Trail thru hiker in Northern California doing 30 miles every day for 5 days, then doing a 15-mile day into town, and then doing a 30-mile day the next day, all with, you know, a 15 or 20 or 25-pound pack. Compare that with someone who's doing a marathon and running miles for speed, and they'll do, you know, approximately a 25-mile day once, and then take maybe 2 weeks off before they do it again. And so what's the difference? The difference is speed. They're doing it for speed, you're doing it for endurance as a thru hiker. And so speed is a really critical control knob you have, that you can dial up when you feel good and your pack is light, and you can dial down when the terrain gets hard or when your pack is heavy, when you're out of calories or your body is near injury. And so that's a critical one to watch, especially when your body is you know, injured, slightly injured, or near injury. The speed is an important control knob that you know, management tool that you have. The third one is efficiency, and efficiency really isn't a control knob. That's just something you want to maximize. You know, you want more miles with less effort. You know, there's no point in feeling like a strong hiker and feeling like you're doing a lot of work for each mile. That's the exact opposite of what you want. It feels good and it can be an endorphin rush, but what you really want is the feels of miles rolling by effortlessly. You know, you do a 20-mile day and you feel good. You know, a 30 and a 40-mile day are probably going to suck in comparison, but you want it to suck less. So you want more efficiency. I found for me that was really critical, that I was always thinking about how to make my gait more efficient, you know, more relaxed, less effort, more, you know, more progress, which on flat ground, I think kind of a modified running gait, like a barefoot running gait, is really a great way to go. You know, that may not work on steep inclines or really rocky terrain or, you know, sharp declines. But more and more, I think that really a barefoot style running gait is the way to go, because that's an incredibly efficient gait, because humans are really built for it, which is an argument that I first read about in Born to Run, and I'm now kind of sold on, that we are as a species tuned for endurance running, you know, running for 1 or 2 or 3 days straight, more than any other species on the planet. And so quickly, some of the things to touch on in terms of what makes an efficient gait: a good upright posture, you know, keeping your spine, you know, a nice vertical, not tight, but a nice upright posture, allows your body to engage your core correctly in your movements, and allows your strength to propagate out from your core to your extremities. Talk to someone who knows about dance, you know, ballet. Talk to someone who does yoga. Talk to someone who does martial arts, and they should understand the value of, quote, moving from your center or maintaining your center line. Another critical component to that is to have a relaxed lower body, and to use as little lower body musculature as possible. And so you're using a short stride instead of a long stride, using a midfoot strike instead of a heel strike, not using a big toe-off push at the end. And just some random thoughts on that. When your heel lands in front of you, if you're using a nice long, you know, power hiking stride, every time your heel lands in front of you, you're dumping momentum into that foot, and you're braking yourself. You're slowing yourself down, which means you're going to have to push back off with the other foot to gain that speed back up. So you've just slowed yourself down and to force yourself to speed back up. That's like trying to drive with your one foot on the brake and one foot on the accelerator. It's a waste of fuel. It gets you nowhere fast. So instead, if your foot lands directly under you, you have the potential, if your body's relaxed, to preserve more of your forward momentum. So you don't need as much energy. You don't have to regenerate any energy in your legs, or not as much. And also, so if you're braking, that force that you're dumping into the ground is rebounding right back into you. And so you're putting more stress into your body, into your shins, into your knees, into your hips, which is building up your stress, which is, you know, bringing you closer to injury, which was one of my key problems. I had that big, wide, power hiking gait, and it was dumping all this stress into, you know, mechanical stress into my body that was causing everything to get tight and causing all kinds of pain. The flip side to not landing on your heels heavy is to not be pushing off on your toes. And you might think, like I did, I thought that was counterintuitive. I thought, oh, well, your toes are there for push-off. I kind of now think they're not primarily. That really, your forward momentum should come from you keeping a vertical posture and then leaning forward a little bit, so you're just sort of falling forward or gliding forward instead of pushing and pulling yourself along the trail. And a great way to check for that, which I got this from ChiRunning, which is a book that my physical therapist had recommended, and I recommend very strongly. And I'm sure this technique is pretty obvious. Hike across a stretch of loose sand, and in Southern California, that's easy to do. And then turn around and look at your footsteps. And they should be even. And there shouldn't be a heel divot, and there shouldn't be a toe divot. And if there is, that's a sign that you're dumping too much energy and you're using too much force in your legs. So you should have an upright posture, a relaxed lower body, light steps, a very short gait, so that, like I said earlier, you're maximizing efficiency to get more miles with less effort, because less effort means less stress coming into your body, and it also, as a side benefit, means less calories burned, which means you have to carry less weight, which is also a really good thing, because coming out of town with 5 days of food sucks if you have to carry an extra 500 calories a day just to overcome your own body. Okay, so those are just some my thoughts on where overuse injuries come from. Basically, to wrap it up, overuse injuries come from accumulated stress, too much accumulated stress too fast. But that same accumulated stress is what causes your body to adapt and become strong. So you can take advantage of it to become a strong hiker, as long as you make sure there's not too much too soon. And the factors that affect how fast stress is building up in your body are primarily, I think, associated with speed, weight, and efficiency. So the faster you go, the faster stress builds up. The more you're carrying, the faster stress builds up. But conversely, the more efficient you are, the less the speed and the weight affect you. So it's important, speed is something you can control, minute by minute, based on how you feel, based on the terrain. Weight is something you're going to minimize. You're going to minimize your gear, you're going to minimize your food, and you're going to minimize your water. Just be safe about that. And there's a lot of good comments about how to make sure you have the right gear and enough food and enough water, because those are safety issues. Those are critical. Those are survival. And then efficiency is something you can always work on to improve. I know I started the trail with a brand new gait that was much more efficient than my, quote, natural gait, which I think saved me from having shin splints that took me off the trail. I also made a significant discovery in Northern California, where previously I found that to move fast, to make big mile days, I was sort of, it's hard to describe in words, but I was pulling my leg forward on the forward swing part of the gait, and that was putting all this weird stress into my foot that was causing pain. And so I discovered somewhere in Northern California to relax my foot on the forward swing, and that made a significant difference on my efficiency and how easy it was to make the miles. Although right after I made that change, there was all this, the stress was passing through my body in different ways, because especially my feet, because I was using them differently. So I really had to watch, because for like the next week and a half afterwards, I could feel like tenderness in different areas as my body was adapting to the new load, the more relaxed load. But in the end, it paid off, and I was able to do these, for me, incredibly high mile days. I was able to do 30, 32, 35, and even a 38-mile day without falling over dead. I mean, maybe I wanted to die, but my body was outlasting my mind or my willpower, which was, to me, really, really amazing. Okay, end of section.